When it comes to being a teacher, instructor, a counselor, a guide, there's nothing wrong with repeating yourself. You see a lot of teachers burn out because they want to continue to come up with new information. It's okay to repeat the same information, especially if it's beneficial. And most importantly, if it's timeless. Keep your vibration raised. We can never say that enough. Keep your vibration raised, which brings me into the reason for this part of the video, for this video. Controlling your microcosm in the midst of this macrocosm. On the macro level, you know what it is. You see what's happening. You see the Google feeds. You see the stories. You hear who's talking about what. You're doing a little bit of reading, or you're watching a video based on those who did a little bit of reading about something. You know what's popping. But your microcosm is everything. Your microcosm is what's going to hold you. The world is going to continue to change. It's going to go with the tides. Hairstyles like this, they weren't around for a minute. They just started coming around like maybe 10, 15 years ago. They started coming back. Nobody was really wearing their hair like this in the 90s. Now it's every basketball player, not every, but a lot of basketball players, a lot of football players, etc. Rappers. You know, a lot of that is back. You know what I mean? I've even seen over the past 10 years, people start to bring, you know, 1 or 2 kid and play type of boxes back. I've seen that. But your microcosm is the constant. So, for example, if the world is depressed and in unrest, and that's the message that is continuing to go forth, that everything is uncertain, you can decide to choose a different microcosm for yourself. On your level and in your world, you can be certain of what you're certain of. That's a choice. That is a choice, to be certain of something. People call it faith. Some call it belief. But let's just call it certainty. The decision to be certain. In the hippie era, it was called being solid. In the streets like this so well, they had to take that and, you know, like 60 years later or whatever the case, and adopt that to themselves. You know, you hear that a lot in the streets. This person's solid. But that usually meant we in agreement. So agreement is a solid thing, something that sounds right, something that is true. That's what is considered solid. But when you hear like stories with all of these addendums to it and all of this partial information, and I get it, we're all kind of learning as we go, but you gotta admit there's a little bit of fear mongering going on in the midst of like all of this change. There's a lot of, and that stuff really, it gets popularity. I mean, if I really wanted to really be chasing views, I would do that. Like, yo, it's all over. Give up this, that. The world is gonna end. This type of monster is gonna come. That type of monster is gonna come. These beasts that's according to Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft's books, all of those monsters are real, and they're gonna come from both above and below and step out from the bare molecules right in thin air and just show up as big old monsters to start eating everybody. And that stuff really sells. That stuff is popular. You know what I mean? You talk like that, you're gonna get a few thousand views easy. But that ain't what I'm here to talk about, because that's something that I can neither prove nor disprove. But what I can prove is the things that go on in our minds. The fact that, yeah, people are playing games with our emotions, playing games with our minds, insulting our intelligence. There's a lot of levels where that can be proven. Take the last couple of elections, and you tell me if people weren't having their minds and hearts and emotions played with, and their intellect and their intelligence insulted. You tell me that wasn't happening. They said the world was going to end in the year 2000, and some even said in the 90s it was all over. Those things did not happen. So what happens when you get a person who makes a wrong prediction? That's evidence of somebody being what? Straight up wrong. And you notice the people don't really come out and say that they're wrong. They just disappear from the scene. Maybe they were agents to promote a type of energy and to get people on a unified conscious scale to manipulate the oversoul into thinking something, and probably thereby bringing it about if we're talking about manifestation. So this is why it's so important, people, to manage your microcosm, to manage it, to get a firm hold on what you're deciding to be true. You deciding to grow, you deciding that you're going to prosper, you deciding that regardless of what happens to the world, your world is going to be straight. And that's solid.